I don't know why this placement of this, but the way they placed this was the interview with me and Ken Osmond came after I'd already been out there beating the piss out of her. I know it was pre-tape, but still you would have thought they'd wanted to leave us with a little heat, but then instead here I come with Ken Osmond. But have I ever told you the story of me meeting Eddie Haskel?
You haven't, but let me just clarify here. Ken Osmond was the actor that played Eddie Haskel, one of the great heels in the history of television.
Yes.
You didn't do an interview with Ken Osmond. It was presented as you doing an interview with Eddie Haskel.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. Nobody knew this was going to fucking happen until we all showed up. TBS had helped obviously they're giving us 2.5 hours of television time on a Sunday opposite WrestleMania. They built the opening graphics and they tried to present this show like a big time sporting event. And this was the first time they were really going to publicly acknowledge that they're really behind their wrestling program. At the same time, one of the very few original television shows being produced by TBS was the new Leave It to Beaver. And Ken Osmond was reprising his role as Eddie Haskel. And thank you, Mrs. Cleaver. You know, I guess there's people out there that have never watched Leave It to Beaver now, but Eddie Haskel was the juvenile delinquent friend of Beaver's brother Wally, who was always trying to get everybody in trouble. But whenever he was around an authority figure like a mother or a parent or a teacher, he was so polite and hello, Mrs. Cleaver. He was full of shit, right? So they send Eddie Haskel, Ken Osmond, to Greensboro for this big live television show that they're doing for the wrestling, and they want to promote their other show, the new Leave It to Beaver. And the only idea they had was that when Ken Osmond shows up, Eddie Haskel is going to have an interview with Jim Cornette. And that's it. They didn't fucking tell us anything. When I got there, they said, oh, we're going to do this. I'm like, okay. And I'm waiting for somebody to say, what are we supposed to be doing? And nobody knew. And finally, Ken Osmond comes over and says, hey, let's figure something out. So we went over 10 minutes before we shot this thing in one take. We went out back of the Greensboro Coliseum and said, okay, we see why they're doing this because I'm the mama's boy. He's the fucking, prick teenager, asshole, heelish people. So we just came up with some shit to say to each other that would work Eddie Haskel's gimmick and Jim Cornette's gimmick. And everybody's like, oh, Cornette, you hate celebrities in the business. Well, I wouldn't have picked to do this if it had been me, but since we're doing it, this worked because it didn't make any of the boys look stupid. And it actually didn't even expose fucking Leave It to Beaver's business because Eddie Haskel was in gimmick. And Bob Caudle, who I guarantee you, as Jim Ross once called him, the epitome of a white man wearing brown shoes. I don't even know if he watched Leave It to Beaver first run, but he introduced Eddie Haskel like Eddie Haskel was the actor and the star of the show because he didn't know the difference. So Ken Osmond was referred to by a few people as Ken Osmond, but he was really being Eddie Haskel and not breaking kayfabe. And he was talking to me about my rich mother, and I was talking to him about his fucking leather jacket at Mayfield. And people had to either Cornette's such a fucking idiot, he thinks that guy really is a dick, or really is Eddie Haskel. Or they might have thought, well, we don't know, both these pricks are just trying to fucking get over at each other's expense. But we didn't do anything to make the wrestling business look stupid or phony. And Eddie Haskel did not offer to take any bumps.
Not to be lost in the shuffle, Vern Gagne brought Lumpy Rutherford in for an angle on AWA TV.
That's Super Clash. Anyway, so yes, I had a face-to-face with Eddie Haskel on TBS.
What do you prefer, your face-to-face with Eddie Haskel or your face-to-face with Grandpa Munster?
Well, I'm hot about that because I got Eddie Haskel in person. Grandpa Munster wasn't even there. Me and Michael Hayes did our fucking pre-tapes and they edited it in. I didn't get to meet Grandpa Munster.
What a shame.